Hello, everybody, and I am Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, a wisdom weaver, and I am here today to talk to you about Saturn and Neptune stationing retrograde within 3 days of each other. And we'll look a little bit at the station charts, the retrograde station charts, and a little look ahead to the direct station charts and talk about what it means. Okay. But before I do, please, please, please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and that's it for now. Okay, so also my Substack blog, I also blog on Substack. Please subscribe to that. You can either do free 4 week ahead reports, or you can upgrade to a paid subscription to receive all my daily written, very detailed reports with often astrology teaching moments and more. But that's enough of that. So let's talk about these retrograde stations. First of all, Saturn has about a 28-29 year cycle, and Neptune has a 165-year cycle. So the Saturn station probably has a little bit more impact for you personally. If you remember, Saturn was one of the original visible 7 planets, the outer limits of our known cosmos until the invention of telescopes, and Uranus was discovered and more. So the Saturn station might have a little bit more impact on you personally, but I'll talk about all of this more in a minute. The Neptune station will really only impact you personally if it's aspecting something in your chart. However, I will say that these two stationing retrograde only 3 days away from each other in the same sign of Pisces is pretty big. Oh, sorry, I don't know what that is. So we're going to look at the charts and then talk about what it all means. And we will also look at, like I said, look ahead a little bit as well. So I've got some cards I pulled, and we'll look at some symbols too. So here's the charts. Sorry, I'm very tired today. So I had such a restful weekend. I went to visit my daughters in Seattle with my husband, and we really, had a beautiful time, slept well, rested well, came back, got home last night, could not sleep at all. So anyway, so Saturn, you can see, stations retrograde on June the 29th, this coming Saturday. As I record this on June the 24th, we're within 5 days of that Saturn station right now. And this is at 3:06 p.m. Eastern time. So if you really want to know the exact time of the station retrograde for you, adjust for your time zones. But, these are bigger energies, so I would not worry too much about getting the exact time. So as you can see, Saturn is stationing retrograde at 19 degrees Pisces, and in a conjunction with Centaur Nessus, who recently stationed retrograde at 19 degrees of Pisces. So those two really have stationed retrograde together. And this is opposing Juno. So I will talk a little bit more about what that means in a minute, but I just wanted to give you the dates. So then Neptune stations retrograde on July the 2nd, 2024, next Tuesday, so 8 days away from when I'm recording this, at 6:40 a.m. Eastern. And Neptune, why have I not highlighted it? I forgot to highlight this chart. Stations retrograde at the very last 5 minutes of the last sign of the zodiac, which means that all these three energies will then be retrograde in the sign of Pisces. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a minute. But Saturn will be retrograde until November the 15th, 2024. And Saturn will move all the way back to 12 degrees of Pisces and then station direct again. So what you want to do, if you know your chart, I hope you know your chart, is look for the area between 19 degrees Pisces and 12 Pisces. And you also want to look if you have any planets or angles at 19 or very close to 19 or 12 degrees, particularly of the mutable signs. Okay, now the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. All this is just like hitting everything in my chart because I'm so mutable. It's just like crazy. But anyway, that's just the way it is. But you can see by November, Saturn has pulled away from Nessus, and then Nessus will go direct, and the two will eventually come to a conjunction. We're not going to look at that one on this occasion. But then Neptune will station direct on December the 7th, 2024, at 27 degrees and 7 minutes of Pisces. That's in an exact square to the galactic center. All right. And that is one hell of a day, because not only will Neptune station direct in a square to the galactic center, also this is the same day that we have Venus, Pluto, and Ceres at 0 Aquarius, which I think is really important. Also, Mars has just stationed retrograde at 6 Leo on the North Node of the USA, and the first station retrograde of Mars in the sign of Leo since 2009. So that is a really big turning point. But we'll look at that more later. But I kind of wanted to give you a little heads up about where this is going. Some other kind of factoids and dates for you, and then I'm just going to talk about what it means. So Saturn and Neptune are both heading towards the end of their journeys in the sign of Pisces. Saturn, with about a 28-29 year cycle, spends, just over 2 years in a sign. Neptune spends forever in a sign. So Neptune moved into, I should have actually got that date for you because I just cannot remember it. I'm so tired, but let me quickly look it up. Neptune moved into the sign of Pisces way back in 2011 and 2012. He kind of dipped in and out of Aquarius and into Pisces a few times. Now, Saturn will enter Aries for the first time on May the 24th next year. Then will retrograde back to the beginning of Aries on September the 1st, 2025, and go back into Pisces. And then we'll move into Aries finally on February the 13th, 2026. Neptune will first enter Aries on March 30th, 2025. Then we'll go back to retrograde into Pisces on October the 22nd, 2025. And then we'll move into the sign of Aries on January the 26th, 2025. And Saturn and Neptune will finally meet at 0 Aries on February the 20th, 2026. So you can see that both are heading towards this shifting between the end of the zodiac and the beginning of the zodiac. But what this also means is that this is the last retrograde for both fully in the sign of Pisces. All right, so that's the main point I wanted to say for you. Now, one other quick thing, and then I'll talk about what this all means, is that when Neptune stations direct on December the 7th with Venus, Pluto, and Ceres at 0 Aquarius, and they head towards that meeting at 0 Aries, the last time that these three met at 0 degrees of a sign was at 0 Aries, and that was on March the 4th, 1823. So vaguely, this really kind of compounds my belief that we have been moving into this incredible new paradigm. I don't care what you call it, the Age of Aquarius, it's more than that. I just watched a presentation with Kaelin Castell talking about mending the sacred hoop and the great year. So many things are colliding together as we move into this period of all these outer planets changing signs and other things. I believe that this shift into this new paradigm began with the discovery of Uranus in 1781, then the discovery of Ceres in 1801, then Pluto, and then all the other outer planets, Neptune, and all these dwarf planets now, and all these centaurs. I think all of these new starry messengers, so to speak, have come in to shift us into this new paradigm. That's why I kind of feel like as we move into this quantum realm, well, we were always in the quantum realm, but now we kind of know we're in a quantum realm. We are discovering, that there's so much we do not understand and know from our perspective as humans. And so anyway, more to come on that. I don't want you to get too bogged down in those ideas. But I do want to say that all of these things happening together and the fact that Saturn and Neptune will meet at 0 Aries on February the 20th, 2026 is activating something that began back in 1823 and that is happening again at a 0 degree of a sign. Aries, new beginnings. Aquarius, humanitarian, science, air, ideas, future, futuristic, all of those things. So this is the big collective trajectory. And these retrogrades are a part of that because these are the last retrogrades fully in the sign of Pisces for these two big heavy hitters in the sign of Pisces. I'm not going to look at all the details about when Nessus leaves, but let's just say Nessus in Pisces is revealing all this intergenerational collective trauma. It's coming up to be cleared and healed, hopefully. So, but Saturn stations retrograde on June the 22nd, 19 degrees Pisces. And if you have any planets around 19, 20, 21 degrees, particularly of those mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, you are more likely to feel the station than others. Now, Saturn in Pisces really is, I kind of quite like it. Saturn is one of those planets that gets such a bad rap amongst many people. But Saturn is the structures or the ability of us to create solid structures. It's the skeleton, the bones of things. This is Saturn. And it's boundaries and structures and mastering things. I've found that Saturn in Pisces has a lot to do with us confronting our self-limiting beliefs. Our self-limiting beliefs that we can transform our structures and let go of the way that we were told it should be way back when. That's been Saturn's incredible journey for me. And I've seen it with my clients too, but particularly if you have aspects. Now then, I am going to say that because Saturn goes back to 12 degrees, I would include anything aspected between 19 and 12 degrees, especially the mutable signs. But sextiles and trines, you can count them too. You might feel it, and you might, for sure, you might feel it. But the big thing about the station for all of us collectively, the station retrograde, is that it's opposing Juno. Juno in Virgo is saying that our relationship with our holistic mind, body, spirit health and is our most important relationship. Juno is sacred relationships, often called the marriage asteroid. But what is your most important relationship? You. These two stationing retrograde, opposing Juno on this Virgo Pisces axis, is really about the practical mysticism, bringing that sense of faith and trust that's Pisces right down to earth and creating meaningful work from a place of wholeness. Okay. Pisces itself is compassion, empathy, sensitivity to being hurt and hurting. Pisces is merging and giving and has to do with suffering and healing. It has to do with self-sacrifice for an ideal, a person, or a cause. It represents intuition and dreams, visions, fantasy, imagination, and creativity. You can also look at, for Pisces, magic, illusion, romance, higher love, I always like to say. But it's this inspirational, spiritual, mystical, otherworldly kind of energy. It's oceanic. It's also escapism on the shadow side. It can be addictions, compulsions, okay, as well. So it's watery, it's intuitive and escapist, and it's very much to do with this trust and surrender of Pisces. And it's the last sign, so it's the cosmic soup of creation. But it's opposing Juno. And Juno in Virgo says the only way to cope with this for all of us really is moving into that Virgoan place of wholeness, that kind of priestess energy, the energy of service, but not self-sacrifice, okay? By looking after yourself first. I know I always talk about self-love and self-care, but it's so important to put your oxygen mask on first. So what this station might bring up, because as I was saying, they're retrograde for a long time. Even if you don't have much aspected by the station retrograde, it may feel like a tide is turning and waves come in and wash things over you to wash things away. And the retrograde is kind of you looking and introspecting about what's being cleansed, what's going away to be rebuilt when Saturn stations direct later in the year. But this is definitely about that Virgo and holistic health and what you want your vision of life and meaning to have. So that's the Virgo, the Saturn station. But you might find that I'm recording this on June 24th. So 5 days before, about 5 days before and 5 days after for the slower moving planets, we really feel that turning, especially as I mentioned, if you have planets or angles in your at those degrees, you might find things come up, especially around intergenerational abuse. And look at the area of your chart this is in as well. I don't care what house system you use your house system, or use the basic house system if you create your own chart on astro.com or astro-seek.com. Look where 12 to 19 degrees Pisces is in your chart. Then look up what that piece of the pie, that area of the chart means for you. And that is an area of life where you may be doing some introspection and some reviewing. Then Neptune. Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. And Neptune is stationing retrograde at the anaretic degree of Pisces, the liminal border crossing degree, where Neptune is spending a lot of this year, because he's going to take quite a while to move back. Okay. We feel this big shift change coming. We feel this big tidal wave of change coming. Now Neptune is a vast energy. Pisces is a vast energy. So whereas I would normally go 5 days either side for a station retrograde with these outer planets, because it's combined with Saturn stationing retrograde and the fact Nessus just stationed retrograde recently as I record this, this is like the biggest tidal wave, a tsunami, whatever you want to call it, of shifting sands, of change, of waves of emotion coming in, washing things up to be looked at, to be cleared. This is going to be a very confusing time. And I'm going to say everybody is going to feel this. Now then, what is even more kind of special, if you like, about Neptune stationing retrograde at that anaretic last degree is that Mercury is about to leave another water sign, which is Cancer, and is making a watery trine to Neptune. Also, we have Talk to the Hand asteroid Lilith. She's like the rebellious teenager of our kind of wild, raw, elemental self in the sign of Scorpio, forming this water grand trine. Something is going to come up in the news, I think, and something that is going to change the direction of where we're heading in a big way. It kind of makes me nervous because we're waiting in the US for all these Supreme Court decisions, but then maybe it'll change the direction in a positive direction. So let's hold that space. But Mercury in Cancer is very sensitive to words. Words can hurt in Mercury in Pisces. And with asteroid Lilith here as well, I kind of wonder what's going to happen on some of the women's issues things as well. So, but either way, fully, to go back, I talked about Saturn saying, look from 19 degrees to 12 degrees. But because these two are really retrograde for about the same time, all right? So Saturn stations direct on November the 15th and Neptune on December the 7th, which in big terms is like it's all happening together. This station retrograde and then the station direct happening, I'm going to say is covering this whole area from 12 degrees to 29 degrees this year. So to reiterate now, if you have anything between 12 and that very last degree of Pisces, God, you're going to feel it hugely. If you have anything around those degrees of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, you will also feel it. This is a tsunami of shifting and change. Now then, because they're retrograde for so long, I'm not going to say that we're going to feel it for this whole time. You know, things will settle into the retrograde as the two get closer to Earth during the retrograde. And then we will feel that shift of change come again when they both turn direct later in the year. So something big is ending and something being rebirthed. And if you think about the way a tidal wave or a tsunami works, the wave kind of comes in, crashes, causes its, erosion, washes things away and leaves a clean surface beneath and washes things away into the ocean. And then what we're left with is what was kind of there underneath all the time. This is what I feel like it's happening for this. Ooh, it's a big one because they're happening all together, particularly. So I pulled 2 cards. So let's have a look at those. Then I'm going to read the symbols for the 2 stations. Okay. By John Sandbach. I just am obsessed with his symbols, even more since I listened to him on Suzanne Gerber's summit. My talk is out this week, actually, but his talk is already missed its free period, but you can buy all the recordings for $47. So I'll put one more link about that summit in below this video, but you can also still register to hear my talk and any of the others that are this week, because they're all live for 3 days for free. So these are the 2 cards I pulled. 9 of Wands for Saturn station retrograde and 7 of Pentacles for the Neptune station retrograde. I find this interesting that I pulled fire and I pulled an earth sign, but that it makes complete sense when we look at these cards. So the 9 of Wands tarot means determination, resilience, defiance, a last defense, the final push, excitement for what's to come, defiance in the face of difficulties, rewards, and victory. And the phrase on this Light Seers Tarot, which is what this deck is, I love the Light Seers Tarot. Actually, it's my current favorite deck. It's by Chris Ann, is I push beyond my own perceived limitations. Now, remember I said that Saturn in Pisces has been asking us to look at our own self-limited beliefs, and that means perceived limitations. So we're able to push beyond them because, we have these beliefs instilled in us that say we can't do things or we always do things. Well, we are able to push beyond those if we choose. Okay. And then I'm going to look at the card for the Neptune station at that anaretic last degree. Such a powerful degree. And the 7 of Pentacles. And don't you just kind of love how it's got, well, I'm going to point at them for you in case you hadn't noticed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 planets growing, combining, tending this growth, this new birth. Remember I said that Pisces is the amniotic fluid as well as the chaos of death and creation. It's almost like the chrysalis where the caterpillar kind of emits these kind of fluids that eat itself up, and then it regrows and transforms, dismembers and remembers into a butterfly. This is kind of where this Pisces energy is right now, okay? Anyway, so the meaning of this card for this station retrograde is a moment to pause and reflect. A long moment, by the way. States of gratitude, re-evaluating your journey, waiting to harvest the fruits of your labor, and a sign to keep going. And the phrase for this card with this deck is, I give thanks for what I am about to harvest, knowing that my life is headed in a beautiful direction. Because I still maintain that better times are here to come. We are on a good path. Okay, so let me stop that share and read you John Sandbach's symbols. I've reached the point where his symbols just speak to me so much. And if you want to look up his symbols, he has a site, johnsandbach.net. He also has a section called Ask the Oracle, so you can ask a question of these symbols. The Chandra symbols, he channeled himself. The Pleiadian symbols are kind of the rechanneled, say, Sabian symbols. I did say that right, didn't I? Yes, I did. And then he said something about the Omega and the Azoth symbols, but basically all four really speak to the degrees. So I'm not going to go into what he said about it, but so the Omega symbol. First, he says this is a manifesting inspired symbol, and it's a truck stop specializing in Gnostic texts. Now, what does Gnostic mean, really? It's inner knowledge, okay? And so the truck stop is kind of pause your busyness, pause your driving around and get in touch with your inner knowing, all right? That's what it kind of feels like to me. Now, the Chandra symbol is an interesting one because this is a perfect black cube, sits alone in the desert. Now, there's something very lonely in energy about Saturn in Pisces and Pisces in general. It's about going alone into your inner self. I kind of quite like that this is a black cube sitting alone in the desert. I kind of do my own interpretation now, and I would invite you, but I'm not suggesting you go and sit alone for the next few months, right, till November when Saturn stations direct. But a lot of time of introspection is really kind of needed, and creating those boundaries, going back into your kind of own box to learn about yourself. Don't make it a form of rigidity that's born out of fear, because Pisces can be fear. Just make sure you're spending some time alone in reflection. Okay. The Pleiadian symbol, under a tree, a table laden with nuts, berries, and other natural and raw foods. Isn't that abundant and beautiful? This speaks to me about that call for gratitude for the abundance of the natural world that you already have. Okay. Now, the Azoth symbol is clouds taking on strange patterns that seem to mean something. Pisces is such an intuitive sign that you might get messages that you need from the clouds, or just from that cloud of unknowing within, allowing those messages to come through for this retrograde station, for the station. Okay. Now then, we'll look at that very last degree of Pisces. Pisces 30, we always go up. Okay, a dense forest of organ pipes is the Omega symbol, transforming and inspired, he said. He also said that this degree is spiritual cleansing, endings, and rebirths. And the Chandra symbol is a large halo in ring formation around the moon. And I am going to read his interpretation in a second for this whole degree. The Pleiadian symbol, a seer on his back and gazing into the sky, becomes a channel for cosmic messages. And Azoth symbol is an object of great beauty unearthed. So well, the dense forest is the earth. All right. This is like, we've got this abundance here on the earth of organ pipes is kind of playing the music of the spheres, if you like, within. This seer on his back, this is saying tune into that night sky and tune into those planets for the cosmic messages. Now then, I love that we go the other way for the Azoth symbol, which is a great beauty on Earth. Virgo and Pisces work together. Spiritual, practical mysticism. Okay, brought down to Earth to find meaning. Anyway, so if you kind of connect with the cosmos and bring these messages down to Earth, something amazing will be found within. So he says this degree is aware of the vast number of possibilities in life and of the music that can arrive from all the potential interactions with the universe around it. What is it? What is to meet this plethora is the inspiration coming from inside, the music that arises from the self and is played out in lifetimes. The more we allow ourselves to flow, the more what is most needed and beneficial for us will come forth from the inside as well as meet us from the outside. He says this is the truth of this degree. And when he goes on about the Chandra symbol, remember that's a large halo in ring formation around the moon. Pisces is the sign of acceptance, and here in its last degree, acceptance reaches completion. So often we think we have accepted something, only to find there are deeper levels to which we may go in this process. It's easy to accept what is beautiful and wonderful, but to accept all the rest, the ugly, the sad, the scary, the terrifying, that is where there is so much more of a tendency to reject or deny. This degree thinks in terms of bringing all emotions into the fold of the great and complete family of emotions. And the magic of it is finding that when all are accepted, the spiritual radiance reaches perfection and we achieve the release for which we have been searching all along. Wow. Now, I will tell you that I did a course with a mentor. I'm still connected with him, I think. Maybe I should revisit it. I've got the recording somewhere. But we did this process where we found our core message, if you like, or core meaning for ourselves, or, various things like that. And mine was actually deep acceptance. And I have moved towards that ever since. I did this quite a few years ago in all of my work. I believe that, we are born with our cosmic blueprint and we work with what we've got and we can accept and love every bit of us, the shiny bits, the not so shiny bits, the fears, but we can work with them through awareness. But deep acceptance of who we are we're just not good at that, are we? We all think we have to be better, different. There's something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with you. You have the ideal, perfect blueprint, and deep acceptance is really the message of these retrogrades, I think, to be quite honest. The last two retrogrades of Saturn and Pisces that are fully in the sign of Pisces. So pay attention to what comes up for you around this double station retrograde, what tidal wave washes over you, how you feel emotionally, what limiting beliefs you come up against, and then over the next few months, you can work on releasing those and on deep acceptance. So much love. It's pretty powerful having these two stationed at the same time, in my opinion. Much love to you. See you next time.